Hey everybody, welcome to the Taste Spot TV. I'm Tony Brewski. Today on the show, we're headed to the bayou to cook up one of my favorite dishes, Crawfish Etouffee. Today on the Taste Spot TV. Crawfish Etouffee is one of those dishes that everybody and their brother has a slightly different recipe for. It's like chili, you know, one person wants to put this in, one person wants to put that in. So if you're going to use this recipe, use it kind of as a guide or a base, and then just kind of improvise with the way you like things to taste. To start things off, we got to get our vegetables chopped up. For our version of Crawfish Etouffee, we're going to use green pepper, celery, and some onion, and a little bit of spicy jalapeno as well. Great little handy-dandy tool to have around the kitchen. Alright, our veggies are all chopped. Our next step is to make a roux over here in the pan so we can get them cooking down. A roux is simply a mix of equal parts butter and equal parts flour. Once you get them mixed together, it kind of makes a paste that works really well as far as thickening up a sauce, which is exactly what it's going to do once we get our crawfish etouffee going. So let's get that butter nice and melted. Our butter's getting nice and melted here, and I used about 1/3 of a stick. Some recipes call for a whole stick. I'm trying not to kill my family or have them go to the cardiologist early in life, so I think you can usually go with a little bit less butter than what a lot of recipes call for. So with that butter, I used about equal parts flour. What I'm going to do now is just get this stirred up, and it's, like I said, going to create kind of a paste here, and that is actually going to act as a thickening agent to our sauce once we get all of our other ingredients in there a little bit. What we're making right now is basically, it's called a blonde roux or a light roux, meaning it's blonde in color. And roux can get anywhere from this to black almost. Once you get a darker roux, it kind of intensifies in flavor. What we're trying to do right now is kind of cook out that floury flavor with the butter, which is kind of more of a butter paste than anything else. All right, our roux's been cooked very nicely. We're going to add some garlic in now, probably about what equals to about a clove or 3 or 4, depending on how much garlic you like. I just went with one big spoonful right there. Might add just a little bit more, just a little garlic. In our household, big fans of garlic. On top of the garlic, let's start getting some of those other vegetables in there. Put some of our onions in and some of our green pepper. We'll let all those flavors kind of get in there and play together and meld together. Yeah, I make a mess in the kitchen. You saw the vegetables going everywhere, but we can work on cleaning that up later. Right now I'm working about getting this flavor right for our crawfish etouffee. Keep stirring these around, getting everything kind of evenly separated, nothing getting cooked too hard at the bottom of this pan. Right now we really just want to kind of sweat these vegetables. Not necessarily really sear them up or anything too bad right now. A little salt. A couple pinches of black pepper. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add in some chicken stock directly into this. You could also use a seafood stock. We're almost going to kind of have a seafood stock going on once we get all the crawfish here in just a little bit, but I like to add a little bit of chicken stock. Kind of makes it a little more flavorful, I think. It kind of balances out all that seafood flavor that we're going to have in here in a little bit. So add in about a cup or 2, depending on how much you're making here. We're going to let that simmer down a little bit and kind of absorb those flavors that are already in our little pot here. Now, of course, when you're making crawfish etouffee, while you're doing all this, you can have a rice cooker going and getting your rice ready. We're just making up some nice jasmine rice over here in our cooker so we can put it on our plate and then top it off with our big toppings of the crawfish etouffee in just a little bit. Now, there is, of course, a lot of ways you can buy crawfish. You can buy the individual crawfish and detail them, and that will take you about a day and a half. What I like to do is just buy the pre-pulled meat. You can buy these in almost any freezer section in the seafood area, and it's just completely packed crawfish tails. They work great for a recipe like this. All right, our pot's starting to simmer. Lots of flavor going on in there, and now it's time to add in my absolute favorite ingredient, the crawfish. Big heaping bowl of it right there, too. Get that in there, get those all broken up and stirred up. keep in mind when you buy these, they usually come frozen, so you want to thaw them out. You can either do it in the sink, under some cold water for a couple minutes, or you can just put it in the fridge the day before you plan on making this, and they'll thaw up quite nicely. Get it all stirred around in there. Might want to add even a little bit more chicken stock to this, because we want that to still be fairly, kind of almost like a stew. We don't want it to be a super, wet soup or anything like that, but, thick enough, after it cooks down for a little while, the liquid will go down a bit and still have a lot of flavor and a lot of depth to it, and won't be too dry. Now the next ingredient is one of my favorites, but it's one I have to be very careful with because my taste of spicy varies greatly from everyone else's taste of spicy. I like things super hot, so go easy on this. A little bit of cayenne pepper goes a long way. So just kind of put some in there like that. I would estimate maybe a tablespoon or two will be enough for you if you want other people to eat it other than yourself. But if you're someone who really likes super spicy things, just experiment a little bit. See how far you can push yourself, if you will. That cayenne flavor can really add a lot of goodness to this dish. Then once you get all your ingredients in there, including the crawfish and all your spices, let it stew down a little bit. Let the liquids reduce down so it all kind of melds those flavors together. And in just a few minutes, we can get out our rice, top it on there, and have some crawfish etouffee. Now there's a couple ways you can serve crawfish etouffee. You can put the rice right there on the plate and then spoon all the juices and the crawfish and all those vegetables right on top of it. Or you can do the way I like to do. I actually like to mix the rice right into our pot that's piping hot on the stove. You get all those juices and everything absorbed into the rice. To me, it's the only way to go. And there you go, one of my favorite dishes of all time. Crawfish etouffee. Let's take a taste. Ooh. It's warm. Both spicy and hot warm. But so good. There you go. Crawfish etouffee. If you make it, let us know what you think. Thanks for watching the Taste Spot TV. I'm Tony Bruschi.